Mr Maguire, do you agree that you provided assistance to Ms Louise Waterhouse in relation to proposed sales or development of land associated with her family in the Badgerys Creek area of Sydney, of Greater Sydney?
Yes, I agree.
How did you first come to meet Ms Waterhouse, do you remember?
My recollection is through the Tongan consulate. Ms Waterhouse is the representative, or Mr Waterhouse, Mr Bill Waterhouse was the honorary consul, and Ms Waterhouse often acted for him and then became the consul. So that's where I met her.
I think Mr Bill Waterhouse might have been the Consul-General, the honorary Consul-General of Tonga, is that right?
Yes.
And Ms Waterhouse, before he passed away, was an honorary consul rather than Consul-General,
correct,
right?
Yes.
And she ultimately took over the Consul-General position when Bill Waterhouse passed away. Is that consistent with your recollection?
Correct, yeah.
But is it right that the first time you recall meeting Ms Waterhouse was in a consular type role than in a, what I might call, a business type relationship?
Yes.
And was that in connection with your role as chairman of the New South Wales Parliament Asia Pacific Friendship Group?
We regularly had round tables with the consular officials. They were invited about every quarter, where members of Parliament would sometimes have a light luncheon and meet and talk about specific issues with the consular representatives, and they would give reports. That was the practice.
But the reason that you were involved in those functions was in your capacity as chair of the Asia Pacific Friendship Group,
correct.
Is that right? And so just so I can get the context around what I've just been asking you, can we go please to volume 16, page 1? This is exhibit 254. Again, this is an email chain, so we'll need to jump to page 2. In fact, if you have a look at the bottom of this page, we'll just scan down just ever so slightly. Ms Lyons to Louise Waterhouse. Ms Lyons was a member of your staff at that point in time, is that right?
Yes.
Subject heading meeting request. And then if we turn over to page 3, good afternoon, Mr Darryl Maguire, MP, member for Wagga Wagga, and Chairman of the New South Wales Parliament Asia Pacific Friendship Group, will be visiting Tonga from 11 to 13 April 2017. You see that there?
Yes.
He would sincerely appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Consulate-General of the Kingdom of Tonga, New South Wales, before he leaves. See that there?
Yes.
Now, that particular trip that you're referring to was one of the SAP CDA trips that you and I discussed yesterday. Is that right?
Yes.
And so you weren't attending Tonga principally in your capacity as chairman of the New South Wales Parliament Asia Pacific Friendship Group.
Yes.
Rather, you were principally attending Tonga and other countries in the South Pacific as a person associated with the Shenzhen group. Is that right?
Yes.
Why then did you not draw to attention the fact that your meeting in Tonga was, or in fact your visit to Tonga, was principally associated with the business activities of the Shenzhen group, as opposed to associated with your role as chairman of the New South Wales Parliament Asia Pacific Friendship Group?
Can you ask that question? Can you repeat that question, please?
Do you agree that the principal purpose for attending Tonga in April of 2017 was to advance the interests of the Shenzhen group we spoke about yesterday?
Yes. The
SAP CDA organisation. Yes. Why didn't you identify that in this email to Ms Waterhouse, or in fact to the consulate?
I don't recall why it wasn't said, but in my best recollection, I would have asked the staff to arrange a meeting for which I would raise topics at that meeting. I don't know that I gave the detail to Ms Lyons.
But is this right? The reason you wanted to meet with the Consul-General of Tonga was to assist in arrangements for the Shenzhen group for its forthcoming trip to...
Yes, I wanted to have a discussion about the purpose of the trip. Yes, that's correct.
And it's right to say that the main purpose of that trip and the subsequent trip that you took to PNG and the Solomon Islands was not in any official capacity of yours, but rather was in your capacity as a person associated with the Shenzhen group of business.
As honorary chairman, yes.
As honorary chairman, but not in the exercise of a public official function like New South Wales Parliament Asia Pacific Friendship Group. Do you agree?
Can you state that again?
Do you agree that at least the main purpose of you attending the South Pacific first in April, then the subsequent trip that we spoke about yesterday in the Solomon Islands and in PNG, was to promote the Shenzhen, or was in connection with the Shenzhen group of business people, the SAP CDA organisation, as opposed to the exercise of any public official function, such as your role as chairman of the New South Wales Parliament Asia Pacific Friendship Group?
That role as chairman would have played a part in it, but yes, the majority, the Shenzhen group, that's correct.
It played a part in it in the sense that you used your office as chairman of the New South Wales Parliament Asia Pacific Friendship Group as something in the nature of a door opener in the South Pacific region. Is that right? Do you agree with that?
Mm.
But that was done, you did that for the benefit of the Shenzhen group.
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct.
You agree, I take it, that was a activity divorced from your public official functions in the sense that it was something that you shouldn't have done. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree.
And I'll just show you one document just on that topic. Volume, we'll come back to the documents on the screen. We'll go to volume 18, page 129. And while that's coming up, I was showing you an email from Ms Lyons, but I take it that Ms Lyons was sending that email with your authority.
Oh, yes.
Volume 18, page 129. Now, do you see here we're in April of 2017, and there's some correspondence with the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and it's speaking about the process for an MP travelling overseas. Do you see that there?
Yes, I see that.
Now, you're aware, aren't you, that there's at least a practice that, generally speaking, if a Member of Parliament goes overseas, that the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade should at least be informed. Is that right?
If it's an official government travel.
If you're just going on a general holiday, then they don't need to be informed. But if there's any possibility that the Member of Parliament will be acting in any public official function, then at least the policy or the practice is to inform the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
My recollection is that if they're representing the government on official government business, then DFAT would get involved. That's my recollection.